I've had knee problems my entire life. I think I grew up in New Zealand. Football boots weren't what they are now, and I think playing on hard surfaces in ill-fitting second-hand rugby boots or football boots, whatever, took their toll on my knees. So really, since early 20s onwards, I've always had problems with my knees, swelling, pain. Whenever any kind of hard exercise was done, impact kind of sports. So I've seen Paul Gibb a couple of times and had keyhole surgery to sort cartilage issues out, etc. But it was he always said that the issue was the shape of one of the knees was going to cause long-term problems with arthritis, and it was inevitable that something more had to be done. The hardest bit was when I was actually showing it on an X-ray. You can actually physically see it in your bone, and that was kind of like quite hard hitting. That look, there is actually damage there. You can see what's happening in the way it's going. So it really was quite frightening. And the first thing that went through my mind was knee replacement. But then again, that's kind of what older people have. And you don't really know how long they're going to last. And in my 60s and 70s. Am I going to, run out of room for a knee replacement, or, what's going to happen then? So it really was quite frightening, Well, do nothing and continue with the pain, and the area on the scan, the bone area on the scan would just get worse, and the arthritis would get worse, and, I'd just leave it until a knee replacement had to happen. Or I could have this procedure called an osteotomy, which would reshape the knee and buy me, anything up to 10 years before a knee replacement was going to happen. Yeah, there's no doubt that it was getting worse as I was getting older. When I was in my 30s or whatever, you put ice on it or whatever. The recovery was quite quick, and then in my 40s, it was happening more often and taking longer to the swelling to come down, or the pain to diminish. But it definitely was happening more often. In the time of young children and running around the garden or doing anything with them, brought it on. So it was anything. It got to the point, in my 30s, it was probably a lot more impact kind of things, and then early 40s, it was more, just slight running in the garden with the children. So it was getting progressively worse. No, I never had anything like that. It was always okay. No. Exactly that. Yeah, that's right. The research I did in it looked like it was quite invasive. It was a big operation, and the thought of it is quite frightening. But the more research I did on it, the more I talked to Paul Gibb, it seemed to be a very, very sensible option. It was going to be 3 to 4 weeks off work. The recovery was going to be quite, difficult in the first 3 or 4 weeks anyway. But then after that, the pain would disappear and it would all be good. So it was frightening to start with, and quite a lot to take on board, because not a lot of my friends have had them. Not a lot of people I know have had them. The research on I did on the internet was probably more technical things rather than the soft issues around recovery and that kind of thing. Well, I think over a year. It really was. When it was first brought up, I spoke to a physiotherapist friend of mine who wasn't that keen and put me off. And then, after doing my own research and talking more to Paul and the pain getting worse, I realised something had to be done. So I didn't particularly want to wait around for a knee replacement and see it get worse, and this seemed to be the most sensible option. I woke up, it's quite a big scar. The pain management was very good in the hospital. I made sure I took advantage of all the painkillers I possibly could, because there's no point, sitting there in pain, because it was made clear that, it was a big operation and you were going to be in pain. So I took advantage of as much of the painkillers as I could. I think they had me up on my feet within 24 hours. I was in hospital for 3 nights. It was okay, I was on crutches, I think, as I say, within 24 hours, and then I was using both crutches, I think, for three weeks, and then onto one crutch for another 2 or 3 weeks after that, and then walking around okay after that. But I was on the exercise bike with the physio, I think, within 2 or 3 days. So, trying to get it moving. I saw a physio once a week for, I think, 6 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, and then I basically did my own thing. I went back swimming quite quickly. As soon as I was on one crutch, I think I went swimming, and obviously the wound had healed and that kind of thing. I went swimming as soon as I could. I did my first ride, and then I don't think there was any I can't remember any ill effects from that, and I think I was out weekly from then on. Only light rides. There weren't anything, I didn't rush back into it, doing, proper miles. So I think about 3 or 4 months just doing light rides, just getting the mobility in the knee and getting it all moving again. It was probably the end of summer. I wasn't pushing the knee, I wasn't pushing my fitness or anything like that. I was just trying to keep things ticking over, try and get mobility, try and get confidence back in it. Because I think that's probably the worst part of it, was being confident that your knee would hold you if you were going to do anything. You wouldn't set it back to square one, and then you've had this operation, what do you do then? Obviously there's a plate in the knee, which you're kind of worried. It does feel funny, there's no doubt. You can feel, for the first 6 months anyway, you can feel a tenderness around the scar. You can, you're aware of something in there. So I think the confidence really took 6 months to come back, without any doubt. 3 months that I did my first ride, and then probably 3 months after that, which probably took us to the end of summer. So I think it was probably 6 months, and then from then on, I've been absolutely fine. I don't even think about it now. No, it's left in there. I think it's a reasonable operation to get it out. It doesn't worry me in any way. So unless I have something else done, I may have an operation on my other knee, and they might take it out then. But otherwise, it doesn't affect me. It's fine. It's fine. There's no pain or discomfort with it at all. It never has been. Never has been. You're just aware of, it's there, so you can feel it. I may have expected to be more mobile earlier. I think the first 3 or 4 weeks, I thought the last 2 weeks of it I'd probably be a little bit better than I was. It really did take the full 3 weeks off work I needed. There was no doubt about that. And maybe even the 4th week I shouldn't have gone back to work, because, again, the train up to London, etc. But I think that bit I didn't expect, but it was okay. It was, but the rest of it, no, I think the result is definitely correct. Everything I'd been promised on the result was spot on. I trusted Paul Gibb completely, in it, and he was completely correct. Well, yes, I probably will need another one on my other knee. So
not just for fun, obviously.
No, exactly, no. But I think I need one on my other knee, and it's a couple of years away. But I would do it again. I would do it again. Both my parents have had knee replacements, and they're absolutely fine with it. They go from pain one day to no pain the next. But they're elderly and okay. But I don't know anyone else has had an osteotomy. No. Well, I think it was a confidence thing. I think it was good and bad days with confidence. Sometimes you'd probably do a little bit. I'd do a little bit too much, and think, and then probably step back a little bit too much. So it was gradual, the improvement, and I think that, as I said, that kind of surprised me, because I thought in in a week or so I'd be absolutely fine, you know, on the crutches, but fine. But it really was the 3 weeks to get fully confident again. The other thing, it was also on my right leg, so I couldn't drive for some time. So, you know, it was just the strength in the leg and being for an emergency stop or anything like that. So I was out of driving, I think, for probably 8 weeks or something like that. I think both your legs, I did a lot of work to strengthen the muscles around that leg. That was one thing I did do prior to the operation. I did as much as I could to strengthen the muscles around the knee on my right leg, thinking, you know, they'll diminish with the operation. I wish I'd done more with the other leg, you know, instead of just concentrating on the right leg, because I think the other leg takes an awful lot of the strain and it really does need to be strong. So I would encourage anyone thinking of having one to really work on strengthening the muscles around both knees before it, you know, because the other leg does bear a lot of the load, you know, whether you're good on crutches or not. So I think that's something that you need to think about. I know all these things, you know, you're told there's a plate in there and all that sort of thing, and then when I saw the x-rays of the plate afterwards, you think, oh my, you know, the screws are enormous, the plate's, you know, enormous, it's a big plate. So I think that kind of thing, it probably pays to, you know, if you could see, you know, x-rays online or something like that, yeah, that's one thing I think you probably need to be prepared about, just how big the plate is in your leg. Oh, it feels, you know, weird to start with, but after you get used to it, it's absolutely normal. I'm not. I know that my wife and children often say maybe when I get tired that my gait actually changes a little bit more. You know, I maybe swing the right leg a little bit more than I used to. It looks slightly different. There's no doubt about that. You know, it's not straight. It's now dog leg right. But that's okay. It doesn't look, if you're looking for it, I guess you might see it, but no, not at all, not at all. But I think the amount of time that in your recovery, you kind of forgot how you walked anyway. You know, you just come back from your recovery and that's how you walk now. So, you know, that's how you had the operation, and you've recovered and this is how you walk. As I said, you know, I used the morphine and that after the operation, and as I was in hospital for 3 days, the pain management was very good. It throbbed when I got home. There was a lot of throbbing, and you know, it was a broken leg. You know, realistically, the pain was very manageable, very manageable. You know, I don't think I've got a particularly huge tolerance of pain, but it never kept me awake. It was fine. It's fine. But you know, I do encourage people to use painkillers. There's no point, you know, trying to tough it out. You know, use what's available. Yeah. Probably about 80. You know, because there's still, you know, the plate's still there, and you know, I'm aware that my walk's slightly different. It looks slightly different, but there's no pain. You know, that's just gone. You know, I get pain in my other leg now, and it kind of, you remember what it was like. So no, pain-free. I can exercise as much as I want to. I've never been a runner, so I've not gone back. I've not tried running with it, so I don't know how that works. But no, it's 100% better than it was, without any doubt. You know, I'm so glad I've had it done. I'd happily land on it, and you know, not a problem, not a problem.